Picture waking up one day, thinking your greatest concern is family drama, only to wake up to a judge slamming down a court order that turns your life upside down. Kody and Robyn Brown, the former face of the world's most infamous polygamous family, are now potentially facing arrest. Accusations of grand fraud cloud over them, rattling the very fabric of their existence. What follows will leave you wondering if you have ever understood trust, loyalty, or family. Don't forget to subscribe and stay with us. The truth is more shocking than this introduction. The courtroom is filled to bursting, the air heavy with anticipation, and you can almost feel the tension. The polished wooden benches reflect the anxious faces of friends, family, and spectators like mirrors under the intense overhead lights, glistening with the worried countenances. At the podium, the judge sits with a face that can freeze water, her gavel held high to determine the fate of two of reality television's most familiar faces, Kody and Robyn Brown. Kody sits on the defendant's side of the courtroom, his fists tightly pressed together, as if he's clinging to whatever grip he has left on control. Robyn sits beside him, her eyes puffy from a sleepless night and worried restlessness. Lawyers are huddled around them, papers rustling hastily as they whisper among themselves. There is a quiet buzz in the air, a low, nervous hum, as reporters sit forward, cameras snapping non-stop, documenting every flash of emotion. The bailiff moves forward, declaring in a forceful, ringing voice, "Kody and Robyn Brown, you are summoned to appear in custody immediately for offenses involving numerous financial discrepancies and fraud charges." A stunned gasp rolls through the room. Kody's face goes white. Robyn's lips quiver, a combination of terror and incredulity. The reality TV cameras that once recorded their family's greatest joy now document their destruction. As the uniformed officers close in, Kody rises, trying a calming breath. This can't be happening," he mutters, under his breath. The officers close in on him, handcuffs flashing in the lights, and move him forward with gentle firmness. Robyn pauses for one heartbeat before letting herself be led away. All eyes in the courtroom are on them, some of disbelief, others of scandal hunger. The whispers get louder. Fans whisper rumors of past accusations, fiscal errors, and family scandals. Kody's family was for so long an icon of harmony in non-traditional living, but behind the scenes, courtroom fights and stress had been building in secret. Today, the world is watching while those secret travails burst into public embarrassment. Outside, flashes mark the moment as the couple is escorted away. The formerly pristine family reputation is left in tatters. The legal ordeal that had threatened in rumors for months finally becomes horribly real. Kody's mind reels, the vows he swore, the family he constructed, and the decisions that brought him to this point all rage against one another in his head. Robyn's mind is the same, a tempest of dread, fury, and sorrow. You won't believe the explosive secrets that are going to be revealed in the weeks to come. Stay tuned, because the truth is just getting started. The atmosphere outside the courthouse is charged, thick with murmurs of shock and dismay. Cameras flash incessantly, recording every detail as Kody and Robyn Brown are escorted out in handcuffs. But the true tale isn't what people witness on the outside. It's the secret, the deceptions, the betrayals, the financial manipulations that nobody could ever have envisioned. Each footstep that they take toward the patient police car rings out like a countdown of a ticking clock to catastrophe. Their empire, once toasted on TV, hangs in the balance of devastation, and the globe waits with bated breath to see if this legendary reality duo can ride out the tempest. What dark secrets will be revealed when courtroom doors open once more? And how much of all we believed about devotion, love, and family was nothing more than expertly crafted deception? Stay with us. The tale you are about to hear will astound you, and the next revelation will cause you to question all that you believed was real. The holding cell is sterile and cold and unyielding. Metal bars section off the room into claustrophobic areas, and fluorescent lights buzz overhead with a droning intensity that feels almost purpose-built to grind down anyone who sits there. Kody and Robyn are seated in individual cells, the chill metal of the bench underneath them making their misery nearly tangible. The nature of the situation closes in, more oppressive than the feel of the handcuffs themselves. Kody slumps against the wall, attempting to steady his racing mind. He considers the public persona he's constructed over years, the smiling family moments, the holidays, the impeccably staged gatherings that framed a picture of oneness. Yet, in the recesses of his mind, the accusations churn like black clouds he could no longer dismiss. Suspicions of faking financial transactions, bad trust management, and questionable real estate deals have plagued him for months, but he never thought they would lead to this. In the middle of world attention, under blinding camera lights, with his name and his liberty on the line, Robyn, across the cell block, leans her forehead against the chill of the metal bars. Her eyes are brimming with held-back tears, a combination of shame, fear, and anger. She remembers the late-night gatherings, the furtive talks, and covert decisions that were needed at the time, but now look like stepping stones to this debacle. She questions whether any of it might have been prevented, whether honesty or openness might have saved them from this public embarrassment. The tension is merely intolerable, and whatever happens next will leave everyone watching their jaws drop. Back in the courtroom, the rest of the family is gathered. Christine's face is set in a scowl of controlled anger, her jaw clenched as she looks at the empty seats where her husband and sister-in-law should be sitting. Janelle's hands shake very slightly as she holds onto her purse, her thoughts filled with dread for the future of the family. Even Meri, far away but omnipresent in the television news, sits in silence, her face inscrutable but her eyes flashing a glimmer of worry. Alliances are shifting imperceptibly, every glance, every sigh, every step charged with unspoken tension. The prosecution starts to outline the purported fraud, telling of intricate transactions, secret accounts, and mysterious property sales. Each sentence conjures up images of deliberate deceit, but the story is so convoluted that even those who have watched Kody's career most closely are left attempting to keep up with the twists and turns. With every new revelation, rumblings course through the gallery. Astounded horror, hushed conjecture, and muted gasps fill the air. Kody's defense lawyer stands, straightening his tie, getting ready to counter with measured, calm articulation. But the tension is etched. He is aware that each word must count. A single miscalculation could swing the balance forever. He begins by setting the context. Elaborate financial arrangements, business deals turned bad, and choices as contentious as they may have been, never with the intent to scam. But the prosecution is unrelenting, laying out the documents, the testimony, and computer records that indicate otherwise. And just when it appears that the court has fallen into a strained rhythm, a bombshell is dropped, one that will flip the whole case upside down. A surprise witness is brought in, an erstwhile family business partner, who had once been highly trusted by Robyn and Kody. She takes the stand with papers clutched in her hand, her voice shaking a little as she speaks of late-night meetings and clandestine deals. "I was told to sign, to okay transfers that looked unusual," she confesses, casting nervous glances toward Kody. "I trusted them then, but now, it doesn't sit well with me. I have to be honest." Now, the gallery gasps. Cameras zoom in, capturing Kody's rigid posture, Robyn's hand trembling as she grips the edge of her seat, and the other family members' silent shock. The allegations now extend beyond simple mismanagement. They suggest a deliberate scheme, one that could carry severe legal consequences. Outside the courtroom, news teams rush to get the latest developments, headlines flashing on screens, sister-wives scandal deepens, Kody and Robyn's legal nightmare escalates, and former insider speaks out. The general public gobbles up the news, opinions polarizing within minutes, some rallying behind the family's reputation, others decrying the suspected action. Social media ignites, theories and speculation spreading like wildfire. Just when you suppose things can't get any more complicated, the judge issues a surprise order, one that leaves all of us in the courtroom speechless and brings us to the threshold of perhaps the most dramatic twist yet. Kody slouches back into his chair, the burden of reality weighing heavily on his shoulders. He considers the family he has made, the wives, the children, the sacrifices numbering in the hundreds, and the dreams he thought never to be shaken. Robyn looks at him, her eyes a mix of fear and a glimmer of determination. As the pressure continues to build, she knows that abandoning ship is not something she can do. Their legacy, their family, and freedom hang in the balance. At that moment, a silent resolve comes over them both. It's not fighting the legal charges anymore. It's managing the emotional minefield, the breach of trust, and the judgment of a public that used to love them. Each look shared, each choice made from this day on, holds gigantic repercussions. And just as the session appears to be reaching a temporary lull, a faint whisper of fresh evidence, long hidden, appears threatening to upend everything we believed about Kody and Robyn's tale. The courtroom doors slowly open, and the air inside is nearly palpable with tension. All eyes are on Kody and Robyn Brown as they head back for another day of what has become an emotional and legal war zone. But the biggest shock isn't so much the charges, the papers, or the blinding flashbulbs. It's the secrets simmering below the surface. Rumors of betrayals, backroom deals, and family members choosing sides ring in the halls. Today, the soap opera isn't about law. It's about trust broken, hearts in shambles, and relationships pushed to the point of destruction. As new truths come to light, no one will exit the room the same way, and the world will be shown a side of the Browns that was never intended to be revealed. Buckle up, the twists are on the way, and they're more shocking than anyone could have dreamed. The courtroom is filled again, but the atmosphere is more oppressive. The barely audible hum of nervous onlookers, intertwined with the crisp tier of paper and the staccato click of camera lenses, provides a background noise of tension. Kody sits taut, with his hands clasped tightly on the table, teeth gritted, his eyes flitting from one corner of the courtroom to the other. Robyn, seated next to him, looks down every so often at her papers, her breathing shallow but even, a thin veil over the tempest of feelings that threaten to break through. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit in the front row, their features a study of opposing emotions. Christine's eyes are hard, her posture tense, a readiness to fight, defend, or even strike if need be. Janelle's hands shake a little as she folds them across her lap, tension and determination written on her body. Meri sits wordlessly, eyes darting from one family member to another, her face impassive yet brimming with tension beneath the surface. Every movement, every look, every slight adjustment in stance suggests allegiances and unseen resentment, the tenuous balance of family loyalty pulled taut by court conflict. The prosecution's first witness of the day is a financial expert who has carefully followed the mismanaged accounts, exposing a web of confusing transactions that may very well enmesh Kody and Robyn in intentional financial malfeasance. She presents her evidence coolly, practically clinically, but the implications are anything but neutral. The courtroom leans forward as one, taking in each word, each chart, each figure that might spell the difference between freedom and prison. Just when the tension reaches its peak, a whispered rumor spreads. Someone inside the family may have been feeding information to the authorities all along. Kody's eyes narrow, his mind racing back through each conversation, each decision, each trust he has extended to his family and closest advisors. Robyn picks up on his discomfort and automatically reaches out, their fingers grazing one another briefly. A momentary connection in the midst of mayhem, but the suspicion remains. Who would betray them? And why? The mere consideration sends a shiver down Kody's spine. Suddenly the doors open and the witness is summoned, a former family friend who had once been regarded as a trusted confidant. Her hands tremble ever so slightly as she raises documents, her voice trembling as she describes secret meetings, hush deals, and money moves that were cleverly concealed from the world. I never wanted to testify, she confesses, speaking barely above a whisper, but I knew the truth can't remain hidden anymore. The gallery gasps. Kody slumps back in his chair, his face pale. Robyn bites her lip, glancing at the judge as if wordlessly begging to be understood. The allegations now delve deeper, implying willful deception over careless error. The family's carefully constructed reality TV image starts to fall apart with every sentence uttered. And just as the courtroom is reeling from this disclosure, a surprise showdown ensues, a showdown that will cause all to question allegiances and long-standing family ties. Christine stands abruptly, tone cold and shaking with anger. How could you, Kody? She cries, her eyes blazing with rage. All these years, the sacrifices, the trust, and you let this occur. The courtroom erupts in shocked silence. Janelle gasps, covering her mouth with trembling hands, while Meri's eyes widen, the quiet intensity of her stare piercing through the room. Kody opens his mouth, but no words come, the weight of guilt, fear and frustration leaving him momentarily speechless. Robyn speaks over the din, her voice firm but even, trying to broker and soothe the rising tension. We are not perfect, she says, her tone a mixture of defense and entreaty, but everything that was done not with ill will. Trying to keep the family safe, to deal with things the best we could. Errors were made, yes, but betrayal, that's different. The room is holding its breath, the tenuous thread of peace stretched thinner than ever before, as the witness lets loose another bombshell, a hitherto unseen set of financial transactions which could put both Kody and Robyn in it much deeper than anyone could have imagined. Outside the courtroom, the media storm increases. Correspondents rush to grab quotes from family, neighbors, and lawyers. Social media is abuzz with rumors, speculations, and allegations, hashtags trending, videos analyzing every second, and public opinion sharply divided. The show's fans are shocked, former fans express dismay, and detractors luxuriate in the developing scandal. Back inside, the tension escalates as the judge calls for a recess. Kody and Robyn are led to a private room, the door closing behind them like a temporary seal against the storm outside. Robyn sits silently, hands folded, as Kody paces, muttering under his breath. "We need a plan," he says, finally breaking the silence. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about protecting the family, our legacy, everything we've worked for." Robyn slowly nods, a look of fear and determination in her eyes. "We stand together," she breathes. "Whatever happens, we stand firm. But, Kody, can we survive what's to come?" Just then, a phone vibrates on the table. A message comes up, from a person they least thought would be calling them, threatening to spill even more secrets unless they do what they are asked. The stakes have increased, and the clock is ticking. As the couple takes their leave to return to court, the emotional toll is visible in the very lines on their faces. The crowd is aware of every hushed accusation, every tear, every frustrated sigh. The unshakable family they have imagined is disintegrating on the world stage, and no one has any idea just how far the disclosures will extend. And just as the session appears to hit a temporary calm, a last-minute surprise looms that promises to alter the entire direction of the case, one that might destroy any possibility of reconciliation and have the Browns fighting not only for freedom but for their very existence. The courtroom is still, but the pressure is palpable. All eyes are on Kody and Robyn Brown, but the rumors in the room whisper something considerably more sinister than what appears to be on the surface. Hidden papers, secret dealings, and years of family treachery are about to burst forth into public life. Today is not simply another court hearing. It's the day where the carefully constructed reality of the Browns starts to implode. Alliances will fall apart, loyalties will break down, and screaming truths will surface that could annihilate the family from within. What nobody saw coming is going to happen, and when it does, the consequences will make everyone wonder who they can trust, and who has been keeping the most life-shattering secrets all along. The courtroom is chillier today, the tension in the air, heavy with anticipation as if it senses the tempest brewing. Kody sits stiffly at the defense table, his face strained, eyes flicking this way and that across the courtroom. Robyn is surrounded by him, her tightly clasped hands in her lap, the knuckles white with strain, concealing the shiver of fear that underlies the tense surface. Each tiny movement, each anxious stare, is amplified by the unforgiving beams of cameras and the gaze of the public. Christine, Janelle, and Meri are seated in the front row again, each of them wearing the kinds of looks that suggest a combination of shock, outrage, and betrayal. Christine is forward-leaning, hands together, jaw clamped, poised to respond at a split second. Janelle shifts uncomfortably, the heaviness of concern reflected in her agitated finger, and Meri sits apart, her eyes tight-lidded and analytical, drinking in each word with covert intensity. Their history of conflicts and secrets now hangs in the air like a powder keg, poised to explode at the first spark. The prosecution stands, papers in hand, their serene and orderly presentation serving only to ratchet up the tension. Today they bring evidence of previously unknown financial transactions and correspondence that indicate willful hiding of funds. The room is silent with shock as intricate details are exposed, unveiling patterns that tell a tale of purpose, deceit, and not simple mismanagement. Just as the courtroom thinks it has digested one staggering revelation, another bombshell falls, and this one is closer to home than anyone ever dreamed. A critical witness, one who was deeply involved in the Browns' financial transactions, forward. His voice shakes as he explains instances of clandestine agreements, backdoor accounts, and orders that were purportedly issued to rig financial results. "I was told to okay certain transfers without disclosure," the witness acknowledges, glancing guiltily in the direction of Kody and Robyn. "I didn't think much about it at the time, but now that I see the repercussion, I can't remain silent. The courtroom is filled with whispers. Kody's fingers wrap tighter around the edge of the table, veins throbbing in his wrist. Robyn bites down on her lip, the color disappearing from her face as she tries to take in the seriousness of the testimony. The witness goes on, explaining transaction emails which uncover a secret network of interaction, some conducted by family members who had always seemed faithful. The tension peaks and higher when Christine abruptly stands up, her voice shaking but unyielding. How could you allow this to occur beneath our roof? She accosts, eyes igniting with fury. We trusted, we constructed our lives upon you. And now? This? The air is thick with held breath, the force of her words suspended above all in the room like a cloud. Kody attempts, but the words get caught in his throat, constricted by a combination of guilt, frustration, and terror. Robyn interrupts, quiet but firm, trying to broker the rising. We never meant to do it harm. She offers, words smooth the quiver under. Mistakes were made. Yes, choices that with hindsight were faulty. But betrayal? That is something else altogether. Her eyes scan the courtroom, pleading silently for comprehension, for a respite from the tempest. And just as the courtroom appears to come to a tenuous balance, another bombshell emerges, one that is set to explode every presumption of loyalty and trust held by the public and family. A hitherto unknown chain of emails is revealed, implicating not only financial misappropriation, but also suspected collusion amongst some family members and external associates. The tone of the emails is one of apparent deceit, skillfully designed to mask the truth. The prosecution highlights that the course of activity dates back years, showing evidence of planning and cover-up that complicates the gravity of the accusations. Outside the courtroom, the media hype reaches a fever pitch. Social media is abuzz with rumor, conjecture, and anger. Former fans who once had cheered the Browns' non-traditional family structure now argue the meaning of the scandal, some standing up for the family's reputation, others denouncing the accused behavior. Each new revelation fuels the fire, making a legal case a sideshow that fascinates the country. Inside, the toll on emotions grows more evident. Kody slumps back in his chair, jaw clenched, eyes empty with concern. Robyn sits silently next to him, shoulders knotted, thoughts spinning through every conceivable result. The day's emotional burden weighs heavily, each new development like another rock added to one already suffocating load. Just when the session seems to be approaching a temporary lull, a sudden clash erupts, an intimate disagreement that erupts into the courtroom in a breathtaking display of passion. Janelle, her frustration boiling over, stands up suddenly, her voice trembling but adamant. We've been kept in the dark, she declares. These years we trusted you. And now? This? Her accusations ring in the air like thunder, before a storm. Meri sits silently, but her eyes are keen, calculating, as if considering each word and action, determining where her own allegiance now resides. Kody shifts awkwardly, sensing that all eyes are on him. He tries to speak, strained voice, but the burden of accusations and raw emotion in the room makes each word fight its way out. Robyn reaches across subtly, a gesture of brotherhood, but even she cannot calm the tide of growing anger and distrust completely. The suspense is nearly intolerable, and just when one thinks it can't get any higher, another turn comes into play, proof of a secret deal that may turn the whole course of the case around, sending everyone into shock. The judge, who has stayed calm so far, adjusts her spectacles, her eyes reading the papers with a meticulous intensity. She inclines a little forward, indicating that the next bombshell may call for urgent attention. The whispers in the courtroom build again, the spectators aware that the biggest bombshells are still to be delivered. Kody breathes slowly, attempting to calm his frantic thoughts. He considers the family he has built, the wives, the children, and the legacy that is now at risk of destruction. Robyn's hand touches his momentarily, a wordless attestation of mutual fear and resolve. They stand together against a storm as much emotional as legal, a storm that will destroy everything they hold dear. And just as the session is about to break, the last revelation falls, a surprise nobody saw coming, guaranteed to reverse the entire storyline, and leaving the family and general public in shocked silence. The courtroom is charged, the atmosphere so charged it seems like it might crack at any moment. Kody and Robyn Brown are positioned at the eye of a hurricane that they no longer have the power to contain. Secrets are leaking, alliances are dissolving, and the truth, much more sinister than anyone ever dreamed, is coming to light in the full glare of the public eye. These days, nothing is taboo. Family ties will be strained, allegiances will shatter, and the public will see betrayals that will leave them questioning everything they ever thought they knew about the Browns. Each heartbeat is precious, each word precious, and one revelation could shift the course of this case in a way that lasts forever. The next few moments will seal not only their fate in court, but the very foundation of the family they have worked so desperately to keep. The courtroom seems tighter than ever, the walls closing in as if mirroring the suffocating pressure on Kody and Robyn. The onlookers lean in, their eyes fixed on each movement, each tremor of feeling. Kody sits stiffly, fists gripping the edge of the table, jaw set, eyes scanning each face, each response. Robyn sits next to him, tense but composed, her fingers drumming against the notes in front of her, as she readies herself for the next blow, mentally preparing herself for announcements that would tear everything apart. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit in the front row, each drinking in the tension in their own way. Christine's face is a mask of barely suppressed rage, her hands clenched around the bench as if she's about to spring into battle. Janelle's breathing is shallow, her exhalations a mixture of fear and incredulity. Meri sits motionless, her eyes keen, dissecting every word, every movement, apparently detached but very much attuned to the emotional undercurrents circulating about her. The prosecution stands again, a sheaf of papers in their hand, each sheet a new accusation, a new betrayal, a new crack in the family's tightly constructed facade. The atmosphere is charged with expectation as the witness is sworn in to give evidence, a former close aide, who has now finally decided to speak out. "I never wanted this to become public," the witness states, shaking voice but resolute. "But what I witnessed, what I know, cannot be kept quiet." Their glance jumps nervously to Kody and Robyn as they go on, describing discussions and choices once believed to remain confidential. They describe covert financial tactics, clandestine deals, and willful gaps, acts now positioning Kody and Robyn firmly in the legal firing line. The courtroom gasps, Kody's hands quiver slightly, his face white as the gravity of the accusations takes hold. Robyn's lips compress tightly, tension written in every tense line of her body. The emotional intensity is palpable, the sort of moment where the audience is left holding its breath, anticipating the next turn. And just as the room appears to be holding its breath in unison, there's a sudden altercation, one that rips open old sores and lays bare raw family feelings. Christine jumps up suddenly, her anger and hurt cracking her voice. "How could you, Kody? After all we've been through, how could you let this happen? How could you jeopardize everything for what?" Her accusation lingers, hanging in the air like a knife pointed squarely at him. Janelle fidgets, her eyes flicking between siblings, not knowing where her allegiance lies. Even Meri's eyes flash, the faint glimmer of disapproval unmistakable. Kody falters for words, but the pressure of guilt and fear renders him momentarily speechless. Robyn extends a hand, an act of solidarity and reassurance, but even her tranquility cannot fully deflate the rising tension. The room is electric with emotion, each look, each whisper, each gesture inflated under the scrutiny of the judge, the media, and the public. Next is the bombshell, evidence that no one anticipated, a surprise that will rewrite the whole case. The prosecution brings forward a series of communications and papers, uncovering not only financial mismanagement, but active collusion on the part of Kody and formerly trusted counsels. The emails, time-stamped and stored meticulously, imply careful planning, secrecy, and efforts to cover up the truth. Every document comes with precise detail, leaving no scope for doubt, and causing shockwaves in the courtroom. Outside, journalists rush, cameras popping, and social media explodes in real time. Supporters argue, speculation increases, and hashtags trend as the news takes over the country's headlines. The scandal, previously restricted to legal documents and rumors, has now blown up into a media frenzy that overwhelms newspapers and overwhelms discussion. Inside, the Browns' emotional strength is put to the test like never before. Kody reclines in his chair, his head reeling with calculations, remorse, and terror. He considers the family he had created, the legacy he believed he was leaving behind, and the decisions that had led them to this place. Robyn sits next to him, attempting to hold on to calmness, but the strain in her shoulders belies the tempest raging within. Each discovery, each allegation, Each angry glance from the family cuts more deeply than the legal ramifications. It targets the very foundation of trust and loyalty. And just when the emotional tension is at its highest, a confrontation between Kody and a family member reaches its boiling point, blowing over into the public in a moment of naked vulnerability. In a hushed conversation, recriminations erupt, emotions overflow, and the camera captures a brief but blinding flash of reaction. A gesture, a tear, an angry word that betrays how tenuous the family ties have grown. It's high drama, raw and unflinching, unself-conscious and human, that leaves everybody in the courtroom, and everybody at home, agog at the ferocity of the argument. The judge adjourns, temporary respite from the emotional maelstrom, but tension still hangs in the air like a thick fog. Kody and Robyn make their way to a private room, the silence oppressive, their minds running through the consequences of every discovery, every deception, every emotional fissure that has opened in their previously unshakable family structure. Kody blows out slowly, the weight of it all bearing down on him. "We need to remain strong," he grumbles, his voice low but firm. "Not only for ourselves, but for the family. No matter what, we go through it together." Robyn nods, her gaze mirroring a cross between fear, resolve, and mourning. "Together?" she whispers quietly, but that there is an implicit question. Can their family endure the repercussions of the secrets uncovered today? The episode concludes on a cliffhanger, with a last-minute twist. A long-buried ledger emerges, suggesting yet another level of fraud and heightening the stakes still further. The viewers are left in suspense on the edge of their seats, eagerly awaiting how Kody and Robyn will weather the storm, and whether the family will survive the agony of betrayal, scandal, and legal jeopardy. The explosive secrets are just beginning, and the second installment promises even greater revelation that will shake things up. The courtroom is hot, the tension so palpable it seems ready to explode at any moment. Kody and Robyn Brown sit in the withering scrutiny of the public, cameras, and a judge whose patience is getting thin. Each hushed discussion, each protective look, each covert motion could tip the scale of the case. But the genuine surprise isn't so much the accusations or the trial theatrics, it's the secrets that are soon to be exposed, the coalitions that will break, and the betrayals that will reveal themselves to all eyes. Every word counts today. Every choice is paramount. And the next bombshell has the potential to destroy the Browns' lives for eternity. The tempest is on the verge of breaking, and the world is waiting, anticipating the consequences. What will remain when the truth comes out? And what will be left of the family after the dust has cleared? The courtroom is still, save for the soft whisper of papers and the muted hum of hushed tones. Kody is seated at the defense table, shoulders strained, jaw locked, eyes flicking nervously as the hearing goes on. Across from him, Robyn has a calm face, but the faint quiver in her fingers gives away the turmoil inside her. Each passing moment weighs with unspoken questions. Who can they trust? What is the whole scope of the allegation? And how much harm has already occurred? Christine, Janelle, and Meri are seated in the front row, their faces a multifaceted mix of anger, tension, and incredulity. Christine's eyes blaze with intensity as she leans forward, prepared to respond to any instant of truth that arises. Janelle gnaws at her lip, tension coursing through her veins, while Meri looks wary, watching every gesture, every utterance, as if anticipating the next surge of emotional outbursts. The bonds of the family, once thought indestructible, now tangle and unravel at the seams of scandal and suspicion. The prosecution unfolds fresh evidence, records of finances, emails, and transaction histories that uncover levels of intricacy not before disclosed. Every page is a tale of secrecy, deception, and potential collusion. The court gasps to discover that the supposed financial misconduct could have included multiple secret channels, muffled transactions, and choices some family members might not have all known or consented to. Just as the courtroom thinks it has digested the seriousness of the case, a shocking revelation arises, one that comes closer to home than anybody had expected. A former family member is summoned to testify. Their voice trembles with a little fear and nervousness, but what they say is crushing. "I watched transactions being conducted, accounts being transferred, and money being stashed away," they admit. "I didn't want to think it was true at first, but I cannot keep quiet anymore. Some choices weren't necessarily errors, they were intentional." The gallery murmurs to each other, the whispers increasing as the meaning becomes clear. Kody's face clenches, color fading as the charges reach deeper. Robyn's lips press together, eyes darting to the judge, silently praying for some moment of clemency. A pause, something that might release the tension. And then comes the sudden confrontation, one that introduces raw emotion into the light, and one that promises to break down the tenuous sense of order Kody and Robyn have worked so hard to preserve. Christine springs up suddenly, voice bitter and angry. How did this happen? She asks, eyes afire. All these years we believed you. And now, this? The courtroom is silent, the atmosphere thick with tension. Janelle fidgets, caught between outrage, horror, and concern for the future of the family. Even Meri's eyes flash, a silent challenge simmering as she considers each word, each movement, each implication. Kody struggles to answer, words failing under the pressure of accusation and guilt. Robyn jumps in quietly but firmly, seeking to soothe tension while arguing their defense. We never intended to harm anyone, she says. Choices were made in multifaceted situations. Errors, yes. Betrayal, not at all. Her eyes scan the room, silently begging for comprehension. But the room is strained, every family member struggling with emotion. The intensity heightens again as a jaw-dropping new evidence comes in, one that seems to tip the whole case against Kody and Robyn. The prosecution introduces a chain of emails that indicate collusion with the Browns and former trusted counsels. The emails are carefully documented, dated, and show directions that seem to take deliberate evasions of the truth. The courtroom responds with audible gasps, muttering and changing eyes. The evidence is complicated to the point where there are no simple solutions, only questions: who knew what and when. To what extent does the deception go? Beyond the courtroom, the media hysteria reaches a fever pitch. Journalists compete for interviews, cameras click continuously, and social media lights up with conjecture, indignation, and infatuation. Viewers of the show argue, dissect, and interpret every detail, generating a maelstrom of public opinion that further fuels the pressure within the courtroom. Back at home, Kody and Robyn's emotional strength is tested to the extreme. Kody reclines, exhaling steadily, his brain running through previous choices, secret deals, and the consequences on the family he has so diligently defended. Robyn is beside him, calm on the outside, but inwardly conflicting with fear, anger, and resolve. Every new thing they learn, every new thing said against them, every charged look between family members cuts deeper than any available legal punishment could. And then there is the moment that turns the game around. A dramatic behind-the-scenes showdown that bursts into the courtroom, unleashing raw, unadulterated emotion that leaves everyone speechless. Janelle, seething with rage, springs to her feet. We've been in the dark for too long, she declares, voice trembly with emotion. All these years we believed. And now, this? Meri's eyes flash, their sharp edges silently posing questions of loyalty, while Christine's face is a conflation of hurt and rage. Kody tries to answer, voice strained, but the flood of feeling renders rational speech almost impossible. Robyn moves indiscreet, touching lightly, momentarily bridging chaos with reassurance. But the storm of feeling has yet to subside, and the courtroom tension continues at a boiling point. Just when the heat appears to be more and more unbearable, the judge orders a recess, an interlude in a tempest that has no apparent end. Kody and Robyn step away into a private room, the tension thick with anticipation. They share a short, wordless glance, the unspoken question between, can their family endure the secrets already revealed? The stakes have never been higher, and each choice henceforth has consequences that could change the family's legacy forever. And just as they are about to go back home, one final surprise awaits them, a long-forgotten ledger that guarantees to turn everything around, staging even more dramatic events in future sessions. The courtroom is holding its breath. Every eye is fixed on Kody and Robyn Brown, as if expecting the next flash of a lightning. Secrets long buried are being brought out now, before the public, the family, and the world's cameras. Alliances will be broken, family ties will be strained, and hearts will be shattered by the force of truth. Today, nothing is off limit, nothing is safe. What was secret in hushed tones and whispered conversations will now be exposed for the world to see. And when the dust has settled, some will never be the same. Every word, every stare, every response counts. The next few moments will be critical, and the world is waiting. Who will come out of this unscathed, and who will be left reeling from what has been revealed? The courtroom is charged with tension. Kody is seated at the defense table, shoulders bunched, jaw clenched, eyes darting around the room, as if attempting to read ahead of time every move before it is made. Robyn is seated next, erect but quivering slightly, the tension of the past weeks reflected in her posture. Their hands touch now and then, a reminder, no matter the tempest brewing around them, they will ride it out together. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit in the front row, each with a difficult combination of anger, pain, and Christine's fingers are tightly woven together, jaw clenched, ready to attack any admission head-on. Janelle fidgets, anxious energy rendering her agitated, while Meri sits with cold, calculating eyes, dissecting every movement, every word, every gesture. What were once unbreakable family dynamics are now tenuous, balancing on the precipice of breakdown. The prosecution stands, papers in hand, their measured but commanding tone cranking the tension. They recite a sequence of communications that uncover hitherto unrevealed transactions and clandestine arrangements, each item carefully time-stamped and detailed. They read from the record, and they imply deliberate withholding of information from other family members, decisions taken without unanimity, and habits that might be construed as willful mismanagement or fraud. Just when the court appears to have swallowed one blow, it takes another, one that attacks in the most sensitive areas of trust and family commitment. A surprise witness is brought in, a previous advisor with close information about Kody and Robyn's private and financial transactions. Their voice shakes a little as they describe clandestine, secret transactions and orders allegedly received to withhold important. I never wanted to expose this, the witness confesses, but I can no longer stay quiet. Some of those choices weren't errors, they were intentional. The courtroom responds instinctively. Kody freezes, his complexion pale as he attempts to comprehend the charge. Robyn grits her teeth, attempting to hold it together, yet her hands betray her fingers curling into fists, as the magnitude of the news dawns on her. Murmurs spread through the gallery, whispers of shock, conjecture, and expectation hanging heavy in the air. Next is the emotional confrontation, a moment that changes the entire rhythm of the trial. Christine stands up, voice shaking but cold. "How could you allow this to occur here?" she asked, her eyes burning with indignation and hurt. "We trusted you, all we've established, and now this?" The courtroom freezes, the force of what she says bearing down on all who stand there. Janelle shifts with discomfort, torn between shock and worry, as Meri's eyes narrow, assessing silently where trust resides. Kody tries to answer, his voice tightening under the triple burden of guilt, fear, and exasperation. Robyn breaks in softly but firmly, attempting to justify their actions while easing the rising tension. "We never meant to hurt anyone," she says. "We made mistakes. Yes, but betrayal, that is not us. We did the best we could under tough circumstances to protect the family and the future. But the level of intensity is ratcheted up even higher with the addition of a bombshell twist, one that undermines all they believed about it." The prosecution unfolds a ledger, long concealed, that discloses an ecosystem of unreported financial transactions. Emails, texts, and company communications indicate strategic efforts to conceal key information, pointing not only to Kody and Robyn, but casting doubts on the awareness and complicity of other members of the family. The gasps in the courtroom, the buzz in the gallery, and the outside media escalate their reports. Kody slumps back in his chair, exhaling slowly, his mind working through every choice, every discussion, every second that might have brought them to this revealing. Robyn is seated next, strained composure but unflinching, her eyes locked on the proceedings unfolding before her. Each disclosure is a punch, not only legally, but emotionally, a strike at trust, family, and public opinion all at once. A dramatic private family showdown breaks out in the courtroom, one of the most tense and emotional moments so far. Janelle leaps up, her voice trembling with fear and anger. "We were in the dark," she cries. "All these years we believed you, and now we are paying the price." Meri's face is granite, eyes scanning the room like a hawk, silently weighing where she falls in the intricate web of new truth. Christine's jaw clenches, her hands shaking as rage fights heartbreak. Kody flails for words, voice shaking with the emotional weight. Robyn moves closer, their hands touching in wordless solidarity. But even this fleeting contact cannot calm the gathering tension. Each piece of news has a personal resonance, not to mention a legal one, and the family's cohesion begins to feel ever more tenuous. Just as the suspense becomes too much to bear, yet another twist is unveiled. A heretofore unknown email exchange, revealing possible collusion with significant legal consequence. The prosecutor highlights the way in which the scheme of secret deals and directives was consistent, perhaps over years. The courtroom responds. The gasp, the murmurs, the nervous rustling of feet, all ramping up the drama. Outside, reporters battle for every shot. Social media goes into meltdown with rumor, indignation, and awe. Audiences of the show dissect and argue over each point, ramping up pressure on Kody Robyn and the family. Within, Kody and Robyn are confronted with reality. Kody reclines, clenched jaw, hollowed out eyes expressing worry. Robyn sits next to him, shoulders hunched, racing mind through possible scenarios. Every discovery, every attack, every suggestive look between family members wounds deeper than would any legal retribution. And just as the courtroom proceedings are set to break, one last, explosive reveal falls, one that nobody expects, and one that will reverberate beyond the confines of the trial itself. A secret ledger emerges, with transactions and correspondence, indicating that other family members might have had information or input in previously assumed private decisions. The disclosure creates shockwaves within the courtroom, putting every family, legal representative, press, and public in a state of shock and questioning everything they believe they under. Kody breathes slowly, the pressure of the storm bearing down. "We have to get through," he growls, voice low but firm. Robyn nods, a blend of terror, resolve, and sorrow in her eyes. Together, she breathes, but the implicit question lingers between them. Can their family survive the consequences of these shocking disclosures? Or is it already too late? The episode concludes with a cliffhanger, secrets still unacted upon, and the threat of even more explosive twists in the next installment, with the audience left crying out to know what comes next. The courtroom is charged, almost quivering with anticipation. Kody and Robyn Brown find themselves at the eye of a storm over which they have no control. The gaze of family, media, and public piercing through every action. Weeks of recovery, deception, and stunning courtroom theatrics have come to this, the time when the truth will at last be balanced, when consequences and justice meet, and when the family's tenuous togetherness will be tested beyond anything. Every inhalation, every look, every whisper counts. And as the verdict approaches, the world holds its breath, knowing that whatever comes next will leave indelible marks, not merely on Kody and Robyn, but on each and every member of the family. Who will survive the fallout? Who will come out whole? And who will be irrevocably altered? The courtroom seems to shrink to a claustrophobic size, the tension almost tangibly bearing down on everyone. With Kody sits at the defense, shoulders stiff, hands gripped tightly in front of, as he gazes straight ahead, his mind running through all the choices, all the mistakes, all the secrets that have been revealed. Robyn sits next, her fingers tapping a soft rhythm on her page, a nervous beat that conceals her own turmoil. Each minute move, each exchanged glance, is weighted with months of courtroom battle, family face-offs, and public outrage. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit in the front row, their faces a map of troubled feelings, anger, sorrow, shock, and guarded hope. Christine's eyes dart back and forth between her father, Kody, and the papers spread out before her, her jaw clenched, waiting for her response to the next bombshell. Janelle has hands clasped in her lap, attempting to remain calm, though tiny tremors betray her tension. Meri watches silently, her calculating gaze fixed, as though mentally mapping the unfolding events and deciding how to respond. The prosecution stands up for a final time, their measured, calm words heightening the tension within the room. They summarize the series of events that have led the Browns to this moment, highlighting financial choices, secret transactions, and messages that imply deliberate cover-ups. Each word rings out in the courtroom, each one a reminder of just how far-reaching the consequences are. Just when the audience is left to consolidate the last arguments, there comes a shocking revelation, one final secret that no one anticipated. The prosecution introduces a surprising witness, an old confidant who had kept quiet until this point. Their statements reveal a sequence of communications and financial transactions not previously known to the family. The witness testifies in a nervous, fearful but certain tone. "I never wanted to testify. But what I know cannot remain secret anymore. Some things weren't errors, they were done on purpose." The gallery gasps as one. Kody's fingers close over the edge of the table, knuckles pale. Robyn bites her lip, an attempt to quell the rising panic by sheer force of will. The air in the room becomes charged and almost unbearable, all the hearts thudding in anticipation as the courtroom grapples with the burden of the discovery. And then the dramatic confrontation, the peak of all the family stresses, the confrontation that will forever set the tone for their relationships. Christine stands up, her voice shaking but firm. All these years, all the trust, all the sacrifices. How did this happen? How could you so betray us like this? Her words cut through the room, a raw declaration of rage and grief. Janelle's eyes brim with tears, a blend of fear, sorrow, and incredulity shining in her face. Meri's eyes are unflinching, her stance stiff, her critical glare a silent indictment. Kody tries to answer, his voice trembling, straining under the weight of emotion. Robyn puts a reassuring hand over his, a fleeting moment of solidarity in the midst of turmoil, wordlessly affirming their unity. But the courtroom still strains, every word, every look a potential spark ready to set off more emotional turmoil. And then finally, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the verdict. The judge clears her throat, her gaze sweeping the room before alighting on Kody and Robyn. The silence that ensues is oppressive, the sense of expectation almost too much to bear. Every family member suspends breath, every spectator leans in, every camera lens registers tension. What she has to say will shape not only legal results, but the destiny of the whole family. The court has reviewed all evidence, testimonies, and documentation. The judge begins, voice steady but resonant. Based on the information presented, the court finds a collective intake of breath fills the room, the air vibrating with suspense. The verdict is announced, consequences levied, legal obligations made clear, and some responsibility allocated. The burden of the judgment falls on Kody and Robyn, their shoulders bowing as reality sets in. The verdict is a combination of legal sanctions, order of restitution, and requirements that must be fulfilled to mend the harm inflicted. It is both a legal accountability and an emotional reckoning, leaving the family to confront the fallout. Christine's body eases a little, though her face is still set in a tense expression, a blend of relief and residual anger. Janelle dabs a tear from her cheek, the hurricane of feeling finally breaking over her. Meri says nothing, but her eyes tell of the turmoil she is experiencing, the conflict of vindication, loss, and unanswered questions regarding loyalty and trust. Kody and Robyn share a look, each quietly acknowledging the storm they've weathered, but also the hard road forward to rebuild family ties, personal stability, and trust. Outside the courthouse, the media firestorm hits its crescendo. Journalists elbow one another for quotes. Cameras pop, and Twitter goes wild with reaction, commentary, and analysis. The world has seen the climax of a soap opera full of secrets, betrayals, and heart-to-hearts, and public interest refuses to abate. Inside again, Kody and Robyn are confronted with the reality of their existence following the verdict. The family has spent months of tension, secrets, and emotional stress, and now they are faced with the way ahead. Talk is subdued, thoughtful, and uncertain, with each member of the family grappling with their emotions and deciding how to proceed, or apart. Kody slowly breathes out, voice low but consistent. "We rode out this storm," he says, "but then comes the tougher part. Repairing, rebuilding, and figuring out how we go on as a family." Robyn nods, her face set in determination with a touch of sadness. Together she breathes, but the word is full of hope and doubt. The episode ends with one final reflection. The courtroom battle is finished, but the emotional process is only just beginning. Relationships need to be mended, trust needs to be restored, and the family needs to reconcile public judgment with private lives. The viewer is left with closure, but expectation, knowing that while the drama of the courtroom has finished, the real story of the Browns' strength, fidelity, and redemption is yet to come. As the family departs the courtroom, eyes brimming with tears, the viewer can't help but wonder, can the Browns ever heal from this tempest? Who will prevail? Who will fail? And what secrets still hide in the shadows?